All right, we are rolling. All right. Hi, friends. Right. Welcome. Today, I'm here with a photographer who is from New York City, who I've followed for quite a while now, and I really do enjoy his work. And you may not know this, but I've actually spoken about your work on my channel before. Did you know that?
No, I did not. Oh,
okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So I actually made a video. I'll send it to you after this. I made a video where I spoke about a couple of your photos, and I was actually really impressed with them.
Thank you.
So that's how I found you in the first place. But anyway, we're here with Rix Legrand, and a very interesting name, by the way. I like it. Framed.by.rix on Instagram. And he is a New York City-based photographer, and his photos are very moody, and they often utilize the nighttime and foggy days and any mist he can find, seemingly rather cool tones generally, which adds to the moody aesthetic. And then we have generally what I notice and what I tend to really enjoy about photographers' work is when they have a well-established subject, because that's something that's lacking a lot in much of the street photography you'll find if you're scrolling through, say, Instagram. And you do a very good job at that. And you always have a well-defined subject, but also you include a ton of environment, which I think is fantastic. Your compositions are very engaging, and you have quite a handle on light, and you leverage it thoughtfully. And I would say for anybody who does go look at his photos, look at them large, because I think they really sing when they're large. And I think that works for, it's that way for a lot of photography, but I think for yours, that's definitely the case. So welcome. And first off, how did you get into photography?
I guess like a lot of people just, when you grab a camera and you just want to go out and, whatever catches your eye, you want to, kind of just snap it here and there. Living in a city where like pretty much everything catches your eye, it's pretty easy to just kind of like get sucked in,
Yeah, you're in a lucky spot.
Yeah, exactly. Like you start off with like landmarks, like, oh, let me take a photo of the Empire State Building. Today's red, tomorrow's pink, the Flatiron Building, a bunch of other cool buildings, the Chrysler is like one of my top favorite buildings. And, you kind of just go from there.
Yeah, it seems like you do have quite the fascination with buildings in your work. Yeah. And like I was saying a second ago, you tend to shoot them when it's nighttime. Do you do most of your shooting at night?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, well, here's your Instagram feed. Let's take a look at it and go through some of the photos. Now, first off, I did want to ask though, so tell me what you tend to shoot with in terms of gear.
So right now I am a Sony shooter, converted over from Nikon. I used to shoot Nikon for a long time. Most of even photos I post nowadays are just like old photos I have from my Nikon.
Okay.
Yeah, I just love the colors on Nikon. It was, I used to shoot with the D850. Before that, I had the D750. Before that, it was the D600.
Yeah.
So it was like
I had that one for a while.
Yeah, it's a great cameras, man.
Yeah, if I didn't shoot video, I'd probably still be shooting Nikon. I really do like their cameras, or maybe Fuji, because I think their cameras are very aesthetically beautiful, nice and small, and that sort of thing. But okay, well, sweet. Let's look at your first photo here. And this is a photo that illustrates something that I did want to talk about. And that was your use of longer focal lengths. It seems like you tend to use longer focal lengths quite frequently. So, for example, what was this shot with?
That was actually at 7mm with a 24-70.
Okay.
I carry that lens everywhere I go, pretty much,
Okay. So wait, so say that again. What was that?
The 24-70. It was shot at 70mm.
Wow. Okay. Cool. There's one that you shot at the Chrysler Building, and I would imagine it's a bit tighter, right?
Yeah, the compression, it's a little.
Yeah, we'll get to it in a second. But sorry, I'm actually welcoming Matthew here. How's it going? So And if you guys have any questions along the way, let us know. But yeah, I think that was further down, so it might be a bit harder to find. But that was actually one I spoke about in the video that I made about you. It may have been the one. Let me see if I can get to it really quick before we. There's a lot of good ones back here. Here it is. Here it is. Okay, so this was definitely not 70 millimeters, right?
No,
okay.
Absolutely not.
Okay, so yeah, so what was this one was shot with?
That was with the 7200 at 200. That was with the Tamron G2.
Okay, yeah, that's okay. That's what it felt like to me, something like that, because that I tend to shoot with the 70 to 200, and that makes sense. Okay, so let's hang around. Let's go to the top first. Let's get your most recent stuff. Okay, so with this one, so just tell me. We spoke a little bit about the situation with the lens and the gear, but what led up to this photo?
I was just walking around, the area. It's right after the storm passed, so there's a lot of fog, a lot of mist still going on, a few like light showers, and I was just hoping to get exactly what I got. Kind of like that density up in the clouds, up like at the tip of the buildings. It gives you like a certain. I feel like it isolates the building so much more. It kind of gets lost with everything. So yeah, I was just literally waiting for the clouds. They were passing like pretty fast, so just kind of waited there for like a good 20-30 minutes until I got the few shots I was hoping to get. And
oh, interesting. So yeah. do you spend a fair bit of time in a given location, or are you how kind of hyper are you on the streets?
If I have my mindset on something, let's say I want to shoot a person crossing, somewhere specifically, I wait maybe an hour if I have to, even more if I really honestly, if I have to, if I want to.
Oh, I love that.
Completely happy about it, then I, just hop to the next location, or just call it a day.
Yeah, I love that level of patience. Is it something that you would consider kind of a therapeutic experience for you, going out and shooting?
Absolutely, yeah. Like I feel like a lot of people that don't do photography for a living, just like have their regular jobs. Photography could be like, your getaway from, stress or whatever. It's just you and your camera and whatever you want. So it's fun. It's always fun.
That's good. Would you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert? Do you like be around people a lot, or do you recharge alone? How's that work?
I usually shoot alone. I get along with a lot of people. I love to like talk to new people and all of that. So, but when I shoot, I usually just shoot alone. I don't have an issue shooting with other people. I've actually shot with a few other artists and photographers, but I just happen to sometimes don't find the time to link up with these other people. So whenever I have the chance, just pick the camera and just go.
Yeah, okay, that's great. I found that with shooting with people, while I think both are equally fantastic and valuable and interesting, shooting with somebody else creates a completely different photo walk experience, at least for me. It makes it into much more of a social event, and you can kind of watch how the other person shoots versus how you shoot, and you can go, oh, he got that shot and I didn't think to get that shot. And then so you might feel a little bit insecure. You realize you're not the best photographer in the world. You learn things, and it makes for this really, I think a photo walk is such a fantastic way to spend some time with somebody.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've had the pleasure of shooting with some really talented people, and it's it adds to your experience. It always adds. You can always learn something, even if it's someone that's not as experienced, or you can always learn something from them, no matter who it is. So it's always really fun to go out and see what they do, see how they see things, and then apply them to your work. What something might work, might not. It's always fun.
Yeah. So this shot is actually one of my favorite shots of yours, with this guy in a subway. We have like kind of a wavy track station situation here, leading line, yellow leading line going up to the person in the distance. And it's just this one guy. And subway stations can obviously be pretty busy. But I love the loneliness of this guy standing here, and you have these very blue tones as well. So how did this one come to be?
One of those nights that I waited a long time to just find one subject. That was actually shot with 105 millimeters, the Sigma Art Class 1.4.
Oh, wow.
So I needed that compression.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah, I literally waited there. There was like nobody. It was like a Friday night at maybe 1 a.m, something like that.
Wow. All right.
I was shooting and just waiting. Those the times that you kind of find these stations a little less crowded. It's gonna be a real challenge if you're trying to get this shot on a Wednesday at 1 p.m. It's not happening.
How often are you going out at like 1 a.m.?
Not very often, to be fair. Maybe once a month, twice a month, when it's like super late and I just still have a lot of energy left. Just grab the camera and just see what I get.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. I feel like you're probably experiencing a completely different world at that time of day versus going out in the daytime.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a whole different energy in the city. It's a city that kind of works with different energies throughout the day, throughout the seasons, and definitely nighttime is a whole different vibe.
I just had this thought. This is really good. So every city has, well, I was going to say it has two versions, right? You have the day and the night version, but you also have morning, you have midday, you have evening, and all these little points in between. So it's like the city is constantly evolving, and anytime you go out, you're going to get a completely different experience. I think that's so interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. If you go to any given park, during the the blue hour, there's a lot of people shooting portraits. If you go during golden hour, there's like portraiture getting done. There's some like proposals, and then nighttime, you have like more of the moody photographers that I usually run into. Usually during nighttime or like really late at night. I don't really shoot during the morning time, to be fair. But yeah, it's a completely different energy.
Yeah. So this is one example of what I was talking about when it comes to having a lot of environment in the scene, but still establishing a subject. You have, for one, you have this taxi coming through, but then you have a person right behind the taxi in the distance. And when you look at the photo big, you really get a feel for this, but you have all of this environment, you allow all of this environment into the scene, which what I found is when you allow a lot of environment into a scene, you also allow potential clutter into a scene. So I'm actually really impressed with photos like this. But the photo is, I mean, we could call this the subject as well. I mean, there are multiple things we could call the subject, I suppose, but the photo is very organized, even though there's a lot going on in the scene. And it seems like you're keeping an eye out for things to be a subject. You're not kind of shooting randomly, like this right here, for example. There's no way this happened by accident. This little guy right here in the light, right?
No, that waited and until I get the shots. That's one of those days.
Yeah,
it's all
so
about
good.
patience. If you're trying to, if I, like for example, you see the lights on the floor. There was after a rainy day. There's still a lot of density in the sky, as you can see in the back. You just gotta wait. It was around maybe 7 p.m. There was like people are still getting home. So I knew it was gonna happen. I just needed to be patient. Just waited and got the shot.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, and I love how you captured him in this blue patch here, clearly separating him and or her. If the person was over here, wouldn't have worked. But it's a photo that honestly would have worked whether the person was there or not. It would have been very interesting as, just like a mood photo.
Yeah.
And also you have this train over here on the side, which I think adds to it. But I think this is the thing that really pulls the photo together and makes it stronger.
Yeah.
Very thoughtful.
Yeah,
So Go ahead.
I do feel like, that person, it gives you that whole energy of, just like a moody night afternoon, trying to get home. You have
Yeah.
density that you just left from the city, right? Getting
Yeah.
to your borough, getting to Queens, it kind of does give you that feel, that energy.
Yeah. And it's like you can connect with this one person in the middle of all that.
That's right.
Yeah. Fantastic. That's good. And I love the blue and orange light play. I like the McDonald's situation over there too.
Oh yeah, that pops.
But yeah, I really do. I love your ability to play with the environment and organize it. Okay, let's this one. Oh yes. So I put this one in the thumbnail. So I really love how this one turned out. And oh boy, oh sorry, I think I hit a button on my headphones. Let's get rid of that. Don't want iTunes. I haven't opened iTunes intentionally in a very long time, but it always opens accidentally. So we have this girl here, and she's playing in the mist. And then we have the globe behind it. What's the name of this place again? I forget.
Oh, I think it's called
Something about a
blanking out
globe.
right now. Something about a glove, like the stratosphere. Is the stratosphere the? Oh boy.
Somebody's okay. We might need a comment for that one. Help us out, guys. So anyway, we have the globe. I can imagine this is a wonderful place to shoot photos, right?
Oh, the Unisphere. Sorry.
Unisphere. Okay, there we go. Yeah.
There you go.
But yeah, I can imagine this is a wonderful place to shoot photos.
Absolutely, and you know that the mist that you see from coming from the ground, it was just added this year. That was not there last year. So I was there over like winter time. One of those really really foggy nights. I went and I shot, and it was being built, so I knew it was coming. I had already had this shot in my head for a very long time. So when I finally got the chance to go, it was just perfect. It was just beautiful. You have to go whenever you're back here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's another place I need to make it to. Yeah, I haven't made it to Central Park. Haven't made it to the Unisphere yet. So this is sort of like an artificial mist experience.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. It's
Okay.
just like mist coming off the ground, like kind of like sprinkles, like water sprinkles, if you want to call it. Yeah.
Okay. Were you just what lenses did you shoot this with? What focal length?
That was a 35 millimeter.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So were you just kind of hovering around waiting for the elements to align?
Yeah. I shot a bunch of, I was just standing in one spot with my camera, and a lot of people were just coming and going. The mist kind of goes up and down. So it was more about the lighting on this one. The sun was setting on my right side. So it added all those colors, to the photo.
Right.
It was pretty much that. I have other shots from this specific day that I haven't posted. This one, it just kind of caught my attention. Like the girl was perfectly in the middle. There's a guy in the hat in the back, which I love hats. You might be able to tell.
I can tell. I've seen quite a bit of that, like that specific hat.
Yeah, and it was just the guy happened to be there with a hat, and there's another kid, kind of like, finding his other friends, on the left side. So kind of all came together.
Yeah, I love this. And yeah, you have multiple people here, but they're not really. I mean, you could say that she's clashing a little bit with this person, but that fog really helps separate everybody.
Yeah, definitely. The fog just kind of gives you that depth, the separation that I needed. That's why it kind of, to me, I guess it worked. It didn't really bother me that the guy in the hat was kind of in the way. It could have been a simple fix on Photoshop, just get rid of the guy, but I don't really like using Photoshop that much.
I was curious, do you remove things in Photoshop?
If something really really bothers me, definitely. But like this, for example, like I said, I like hats. The guy happens to be there. It's not something that I don't think killed the photo. But if something really really like kills the photo, like let's say a bag of garbage was left in the middle, that's definitely shouldn't be there.
Yeah, and it's interesting with something like a bag of garbage, because it's something I personally don't ever remove things from my photos, but I think it's totally fine if people do. I think it's all about what you want your street photography to be. But I think, if it's something like a bag of trash, this is something that could be there one day and then not there the next day. And it's something that was just happened to be there at that time. So it kind of, I don't know, it gives a little bit of validity to the argument of removing it if it's something that is like a random, unfortunate element in the photo. If it's like a light pole, obviously it's going to stay there. It's always going to stay there. Yeah. So I see those things as different. I kind of like to think about the idea of removing something that would not always be in the scene anyway. It just happened to be on that. Mad Science Gaming. Hello, welcome. Hope you're having a good evening, or whatever time it is where you are. But okay, fantastic. I love this. I love the light. I love the play of the warm tones here. Incredibly warm tones. Like yeah, and then you have that contrasted with the blue in the sky. Yeah. And then her expression, like her stride, is so playful and wonderful.
It's impressive. Yeah, she was hopping in like 3 hops. She was on the other side. So
cool. Yeah, and so I guess you got to be ready for this moment if you're gonna capture the and also you can make a choice about what you want to happen in terms of if you want the person to be frozen in time or if you want the person to be kind of blurring a little bit. You could drop your shutter speed, but I love that you can make those choices and decide what you want it to be. Okay, so Mad Science Gaming says, I'm in New York City. Fantastic. All right. Well, you got a friend. I'm actually a photographer from New York City. Excellent. Well, you might recognize some of these places. All right. So we'll carry on. Okay, I like this one a lot. And you know what I just noticed about this photo? I didn't realize the Empire State Building was back there. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about this one.
4th of July, you know the drill. Macy's fireworks. It was kind of a hassle to get to this spot. You need to be super early, to get a decent spot. But yeah, we managed to make it to somewhat at the front, of the show for those views. And, just kind of had this shot in my head for quite a while. I get very unlucky on 4th of July. It's usually, there's like something going on and I don't often shoot on this specific day. So, I had to get this shot and pulled up. That was 24-70 lens I used on this one.
Okay, great.
Because this is Queens, taken from the LIC Piers, and that's the fireworks were like right in between the city, Manhattan and Queens. So I knew that that's where I needed to be for that specific shot.
Well, so what was your f-stop? Roughly.
If I remember correctly, it's probably like 1/200. F-stop. Sorry. It's that was shot at 2.8.
2.8. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So that 24-70, probably a little bit bigger. Are you cool with that? Like, I know a lot of people, want to shoot with the smallest kit possible.
I'm fine. I usually also carry the 105 or 1.4 Sigma, which is a really hefty lens. So
I bet it's beautiful though.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
You see the glass on that, and yeah. And before that, I used to shoot with the Nikon D850, usually with the 70-200. So it's pretty heavy. So it doesn't really bother me to carry hefty lenses or hefty equipment, at all.
That's cool. I shoot a lot of times. Oh no, where'd it go? It's over here. Hold on. I shoot a lot with this guy.
All right.
And so I like it. This is the F4 version. I made a video about this. So I like the F4 version. I don't like the F2.8 version as much because it's like so much bigger. It's just over that threshold that it's annoying to me to walk around with it. But this one is like, I'm totally fine carrying it around. I mean, it's definitely bigger and more noticed and all that stuff, but it's worth it. It's such a great lens. It's funny I'm talking about gear so much because I normally don't spend a lot of time talking about gear, but
gear is important.
It is. Yes, it is important. Yes, gear absolutely does matter. So with this photo, I love how you included the crowd, because there's a lot of shots out there that are just fireworks, right? They'll zoom in really nice and tight on the explosion, and it looks cool. But I'm a huge fan of including context and people whenever possible. And I love that you allowed the crowd to be in this as well. Not only does it give kind of a sense of where you are versus where the explosions are in depth in this, but you get a sense of the humanity of everybody gathering around watching these fireworks, right?
Right.
So I love that you did that.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of a point of view perspective, as of, a lot of people don't get the chance to, watch the fireworks here in New York City. So that kind of gives people of like what you're actually seeing, standing at that location, and it kind of makes you feel part of the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I was going for on this one.
Yeah, I'm sure that it is wonderful to shoot $1 million worth of exploding things.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's carry on. Okay, so this one I really do like this one as well, and I didn't notice until I looked at it close that we have a couple of people here, probably a couple, just hanging out in the foreground, very out of focus, and in the background we have the Empire State Building, and then we have the moon. And I applaud you greatly for this combination of elements. This is fantastic. How did this come to be?
The waiting game. It's always about the waiting game. It's kind of just wait and wait. This couple was actually sitting there, but not really together for a little while. So just kind of waited for them to just kind of get together. They were definitely just like, sightseeing, enjoying the view and, talking, and, it came to a time where they kind of got more together and just kind of put their focus into the city, so that's kind of what I wanted to get. And, you can tell they're just definitely just enjoying a regular summer afternoon, and just kind of like get in the mood. That's a lot of people. That's all they want to do, just kind of be with that person, look at the city, just don't worry about anything else.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I feel like that added a lot to the photo. That was a good caption.
Yeah,
you could have just photographed the building and the moon, and the photo would have been spectacular still, but you added this element of humanity in there, which I think takes it to another level.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially being in a city where you have so many people, there's so many emotions, and to be with someone you care for, or in this case, they were a couple. It kind of does give you that illusion that you can be with someone at the most
chaotic times,
hectic, chaotic places and times. Correct?
Yeah, I love that. That's great. Man, I wish you should just record voice recordings and put them underneath your photos.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
All right. See, and with this one, for example, still have a nice subject right here in the middle. Fantastic. Like this one a lot. Like how you use the puddle. That's fun. Those umbrellas are always so interesting to me.
Yeah, they can pretty much cover you up to here, and then you can just see everything because they're transparent. So pretty cool umbrellas.
Pretty clever. Clever. This one's fantastic. So how did you accomplish fog like this? This is incredibly dense. And also, did you use a longer focal length?
No, that was actually a 50 millimeter.
Wow,
just a
cool.
nifty 50 1.8. Got the job done. That's actually one of those like the steam pipes from the city. They're like everywhere. This was over the winter. There was one that was going crazy. It was around, pretty sure it was 3rd Avenue, around like 50 something, and it was just madness. Like I have a bunch of those shots, and it got so bad or so good for us photographers to a point where it was like maybe like a whole block radius. The steam was too dense,
Hmm.
So yeah, as you can see, that's nothing was out there here other than like work on the tones a little bit because there's a lot of warm lighting around that area. But yeah, it was just as dense. And if you ever come across those places, you'll see for yourself. It's crazy.
Do you get nervous when you shoot people?
A little bit, yeah. Sometimes you live in a city where a lot of people are really crazy. You don't
Hmm.
know who's gonna confront you or just like smash your camera or attempt against you.
Hmm.
I've gotten some people before that came up to me and was like, "Why are you taking a photograph of me?" It was like,
Yeah.
I usually try to play it off. Just if I'm shooting someone and they make eye contact, I know I'm screwed. So just
Hmm.
take a photo of something else, and if you can always show them I wasn't taking a photo of you. It's just something behind you, for example. And then it never came to that point, but in case
Yeah.
that ever happens, it's my exit.
Yeah. So this is an interesting difference in approach that I'll see with street photographers, because you'll have the person who kind of does their best to avoid being seen or being perceived as taking the photo, and then you'll have people who very much lead into it and try to engage and try to like smile at the person and make sure that they, like, if they looked at them, they will make it clear to them that they took their photo. And I think I definitely prefer the smile at the person, let them know you're friendly, that sort of thing. But there have definitely been times where I'm just bopping around and I'll take a photo and then I'll pull it down and I try to like divert my eyes as quickly as possible, to try to just keep the person from um, it's sort of like I don't necessarily want the person to be bothered by me taking their photo, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get you.
I think that's part of it. Um, but anyway, do you ever engage with people while you're shooting, or are you generally just kind of hanging out on your own, trying to avoid contact with other humans? Which I
Knowing
understand that as an introvert.
that knowing these people in the city, I know most of them are possibly trying to avoid any contact with any stranger, especially during COVID times. You don't know me, I don't know you, so it's usually trying to shoot from far and not engage, yeah, as much. I actually did come across some people. They actually do want their photo. Like they come up to you and then just like you know just like open their arms for like, yo, take a photo of me.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah. I get that all the time. Yeah.
yeah, it's always cool. I never say no to those characters that you find, because you never know who
Yeah.
you're gonna find.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
always
And
fun.
they'll give you really interesting photos.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I have
Yeah.
some that I've never posted before, and it's definitely interesting characters. You find them everywhere in the city, so you just
Yeah.
always gotta be open for it.
You just got to follow her on Instagram.
Yeah.
You see that?
Oh, oh, wow, amazing! Thank you, Morgan Nelson. Hello.
Thank you, Morgan. Welcome.
Thank you,
Um,
Morgan.
so fantastic. Okay, so I think it's so interesting to discuss the different approaches to street photography, and also how it impacts your photos, because there are some street photographers that they'll get right in the mix with people and shoot straight on, whatever. Then there are people who stay quite far back and just try to observe from a distance. One thing I love about your photos is a lot of them feel that way, where it's like you could be a mile away from the person, but you're still establishing them as a subject. And I love photos of all varieties there. And then of course you have the street portraits, right?
Yeah.
And what I found with street portraits that can be hard is it can be really difficult to get the person to this is a great photo too. It can be difficult to get the person to be in an environment in an interesting way. And I think that can come, like, I think what I want to try to do in myself is develop this ability to kind of push back a little bit and see the surroundings more and put them in those surroundings. Because I kind of wonder, like, how do you get a shot like this, but like where the person is cooperating and it's a street portrait, right?
Yeah. No, I get it. You know, it's also a little challenging. Sometimes lighting is not consistent.
Right.
You know, you have, like, for example, Times Square. You know, the screens are flashing left and right. It could be pink, it could be blue, it could switch to completely white, you know, and just messes everything. Your color grading, you can always work on it after in post production, but it's definitely something you need to consider when you shoot you know, street portraits. Be patient with the lighting and know that it's gonna be frequently changing left and right.
Yeah. So how often are you? I want to talk about this photo because this is a printable shot. But how often are you going back to a place after you've come to it once before? Like you go there, you go, okay, conditions aren't quite right, and then you come back to that place.
I don't really keep track on, you know, on places I go to, unless it's like, for example, Radio City Hall that every photographer goes to when it rains, you know, and I don't blame them. It's iconic, it's beautiful, it's a amazing corner, you know, for any photographer. But I do try to stay away from it lately because, you know, I've gone there a little too much. But like other places, I try to mix it up, you know, Midtown, Financial District. Right
Yeah, it
now,
seems
the
like you get around.
Flatiron, yeah, the of Flatiron District is the actual building is being like reconstructed or cleaned up or whatever is happening. So it has like a whole cover for almost 2 years now. So that's why not a lot of people go there. But it's, you know, before that happened, it's one of the places that people really like to shoot.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. So let's talk about this one. This is this the Empire State Building?
That's the Chrysler.
Dang it. That was I think that was the first option I was going to pick. And then I said, I doubted myself and went to the Empire State Building because I looked at how kind of thick the building was. Okay. Chrysler Building. And then we have a plague of birds coming by as well. So how did you accomplish this photo? This is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, so, you know, sometimes there's like a bunch of, you know, randos just throwing like bird food on the floor, you know, and they just kind of gather, you know, all sorts of birds. We're talking pigeons, you know, the other, you know, really common birds are just everywhere.
Flamingos.
Yeah, right. And then, you know, they kind of like just go in circles, you know, like left and right and then back and forth. So it's, you know, one of those times that you're just lucky to be at the right spot, you know, have your camera and just shoot up. It was also like a pretty foggy day out, so it kind of all came together. Sometimes it's just like getting lucky, you know, being at the right spot. So
Yeah, no, like I said, this is printable. This is a wonderful photo. So and it really shines. Like I was saying at the beginning, it really shines when you look at it big. So, and I've noticed you've shot in, is this Chicago? This looks like Chicago.
that's actually Brooklyn. That's
Is that
Meadow.
Brooklyn? Oh,
Yeah.
Got it. But you have
Similar.
taken photos in Chicago, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. This looks similar because you got the above ground train. A lot of the street corners in Chicago look exactly like that. I can literally think of one in my head that looks exactly like that. But yeah, once again, well-established subject right here. It's like we have all of this fun environment happening, all this context, all this intrigue, but then you have this one person that pulls it all together, and then this beautiful use of light. So I noticed you're elevated here. Were you up on a platform?
Yeah, that's actually on the other side of the stairs. There's this like space where people can just like, you know, look or throw things or whatever. And yeah, I had a clean view of this specific subject, and yeah, just kind of, you know, shot a bunch of shots, and this is one of the ones I liked a little better than the others, and kind of decided to work on this one and post it.
How long did you wait around for this?
That I think that day I wasn't out for much, maybe like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then just hopped on the J train and kept going.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always like to ask people what caused you to get into street photography over another form. It seems like your environment really had, because you said you grew up in New York City 21 years, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
so you grew up in New York City, and this is your natural. I mean, a lot of people, because like if you grew up in Utah, you probably take on landscape photography, but this is your landscape. So
Yeah.
that to me seems to be at least a part of it. But what do you think?
Yeah. No. Absolutely. You grow up here in New York City. You're pretty much in the streets most of the time. And there's so much. It's so easy. This is your playground. This is what you see every day, and it's a lot easier, I think, to become a street photographer here in New York City, because it's just everything. It's right outside your door. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I stayed in a hotel in Manhattan both times. Wait, hold on. I've been there 3 times now, I think, actually. So yeah, the last 2 times me and my wife stayed in a hotel in Manhattan. And the last time I stayed alone in a hotel, same hotel, Moxie, great hotel. But it was so cool to just be able to walk out the door and you're doing street photography.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the sweet pleasures of living in this city.
Yeah. Yeah. Everywhere else in America, you're going to hop in a car, but New York City, you're going to, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
not everywhere. I mean, you get into a well-populated city, you can hop on your bike, but you know, so this one's really cool. I love this. And this one's a good example of how you don't have to rely on people to make your photo more exciting. You just have really strong compositional fundamentals at play here. And I love how you're willing to shoot up and do this dramatic angle. And I see you do that a lot with your photos, but I think it worked out really well here.
Yeah, that's actually another nifty 50 shot, which I encourage a lot of people, to just go get it. It's one of the best lenses that gets the job done.
Definitely
Yeah,
definitely still the best starting place for street photography, I think.
absolutely. For everything, it works for portraits, it works
Right.
for even landscape. Some landscape photographers, they always carry it. So,
Right.
so yeah,
It's funny. In my last conversation, I was talking with Tom Salzer. He's another street photographer, but he'll actually go outside of his city. He's in Pittsburgh, but he'll go outside and move into like town, rural areas, that sort of thing, and make some really interesting photos. But he said that 35 millimeter always spoke to him. And I thought that was so interesting. For me, it's 50 millimeter is always sort of my central focal length for exactly what you're saying. It's just so versatile.
yeah.
But for some people, it's just not quite wide enough.
I agree, and I have actually now shoot more with the 35 than the 50. It's just like the 50 as a starting point. It's a really cheap lens. The 1.8, it's what, like maybe 200, 250. A lot of people that can't spend all that money. This is the great lens, even though it might have a little less of angle. It still captures a great quality, and yeah, it should be on everyone's camera bag. But I do agree with the 35 millimeter comment that you just said. It does kind of feel like there's more environment into your photos. There's more elements that you can play with. So I do definitely agree with that. 35 millimeter really speaks to people.
Yeah. And I feel like you get some pretty unique results in New York City if you shoot with a 35 as well. So yeah, once again, well-established subject. It's like you've done this over and over and over, and you can see the mastery of this technique where you have a specific person in the middle of the street crossing, and then nothing anywhere near them, which establishes them really well. This is from? Oh, I'm just gonna guess. Okay, is it the Brooklyn Bridge?
No,
Dang
that's
it.
the Manhattan Bridge.
That was okay. That was my second one. That was my second one. This is fun though. I like this game. Okay. And once again, we're at the Unisphere. We have some sort of V for Vendetta character happening over here. Once again, one of your favorite hats.
Yep.
Occurring, and I think this one's really intriguing, and it's quite different than the previous photo that we looked at with the Unisphere, which was in the evening time, warm evening light, and then with this one we have very cool light. It's nighttime. We have a couple of, and it's so dreamy looking and almost daunting. You have these huge spotlights on the side here, and then you can't see the top of the Unisphere. I think that's fantastic. And I think, like we were saying a second ago, it's probably such a great place to shoot. And I feel like you could spend hours out there and constantly get different photos.
Yeah, correct. This is actually, that was before the mist was built. That's the night I actually realized they were building like the misty
okay.
playground. It was just a really dense, foggy night.
Just fog. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, just fog. It's like 1 a.m. Decided to go out. You always find like people walking their dogs, or like just literally just walking at this specific lake location. So it was just, I was there for a little while, maybe like an hour 20, just like walking around the park and just getting different shots. And then this was one of the ones I liked the most. Definitely different from the daytime, like you were saying before. Nighttime, daytime, it's completely different energies and moods.
I agree, Morgan. It is indeed a great
Morgan.
shot. And also, Morgan was asking Mad Science Gaming what kind of photography they do, and I too would like to know that. Okay, so another lovely Chrysler building shot, very moody. This is nice. What lens did you shoot this with?
That's the 105 Sigma 1.4.
Okay, yeah. Oh, that's gorgeous. So, did you focus on these guys right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was aiming to the kind of like the lower part of the frame.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of compress the rest of the buildings. Coming from to the right, to the left.
Yeah.
Getting that compression was my main focus, and then people is always there, so that was just kind of an extra.
Yeah, this is very much just a vibe shot. It's got a good vibe. Exactly. Oh, Morgan asked a great question. Okay, how do you get over your fear of street photography? Because this is something a lot of people struggle with. This is something I struggle with to this day. I have social anxiety, which is part of why I do like to get out there and do it. So for you, what would your answer be to that? Or thoughts?
I don't really have ever really like had an issue going out. I do get a little nervous if people, I feel like I'm gonna be confronted, but always have like an exit plan for this confrontations. They will forget. If you get caught taking a photo, the worst thing they could do is ask you to delete it, and just you get it done, and then you go on to the next person or the next subject. It doesn't always have to be something that you need to carry on for the rest of your evening or night or whatever the case is. So just know that people are gonna be people. Some people are less comfortable, and some people don't even care. So just go out there and do your thing. So a lot of people don't really care. So.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. And you were mentioning that sometimes people will ask you to delete the photo, and me personally, generally speaking, I'm happy to delete the photo. It's not something that I need that bad. It's just I was walking around taking photos. I came across an interesting subject. I took their photo. If they don't want it, I think it's nice and kind to just say, okay, that's fine. You don't want your photo taken? No big deal. I think sometimes you have to create the distinction between deleting it and not sharing it, because sometimes you've taken 35 photos in a burst of them, and you don't necessarily want to sit there for 10 minutes and go through and delete each one of them in front of their face. But you can say, okay, no problem, I won't share it. I was actually in Midtown once, and one of the more tense experiences was like 3 dudes. They were sitting over in a corner, and I walked over, pulled the camera up, snapped the photo really quick, and then started walking. And the guy yelled at me, called me over, and then he said, delete the photo. And I was like, all right, I won't share it. And he was like, no, delete it. And all of his friends were, all three of his friends were like, delete his photo. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm about to get jumped. so I was like, all right,
that sounds like New York. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll delete it. So yeah, Midtown sketched me out a little bit in certain areas, but it was definitely it's such a unique place. It's definitely worth it. And there are a lot of other parts that are pretty friendly. I mean,
yeah, like for example, Brooklyn, I feel like it's really friendly. People are usually just minding their own business, you know. A lot of the times you don't have to necessarily shoot like face to face, you know, so that helps a lot. You know, you can start with, you know, when they're walking away, or, you know, if you're taking a photo, you know, you just have to think about your composition before, and then if you want someone in the photo, they will eventually cross your path, you know, they will get there. So you can always play it as you got in the way, you know, instead of I was waiting for you, you know. So people feel a little less uncomfortable, I feel, if you play it out like that, or at least it makes you more relaxed, you know, when you're shooting with that kind of mindset.
Yeah. And that's what I've learned is street photography is very much a mental exercise. And to answer Morgan's question, one set of thoughts I have is to learn how to stay relaxed, like what you're saying. Just learn how to keep your mind very relaxed and even, and not kind of worried about this and that. That's an art form. Takes a lot of time to figure out. And it takes a lot of time to figure out with anything in life, you know, how to keep your mind relaxed and not anxious. But also I would say learn how to embrace the discomfort and the awkward, because it's going to come, it's going to happen. You're going to have a weird experience. You're going to have an experience where you maybe don't know exactly what to say if somebody talks to you, or if you're talking to somebody, if you're doing a street portrait. There are going to be times where it's just kind of this weird thing, and at the end you were like, wow, that really did not go the way I wanted it to. But what I've learned is to lean into that, let that be part of it, and allow yourself to grow through that discomfort and weirdness, and make it fun, make it a challenge, you know, enjoy it. But you'll become better, and you'll become socially better by learning how to get out there and have those experiences with people, with strangers. And it will allow you to, you know, be more bold and take the photos that you want, and not have so much friction in the future. But I think some level of friction is generally always going to be there. So don't be scared of the friction. Don't run away from the friction. Lean into it and embrace it.
Agreed. Yeah. Well said.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I got an audience applause.
Yeah.
So this one looks like this one was taken at the same evening as the other one. Oh, we have a tractor. That's fun.
Same evening.
Nice. Okay. Let me. Yeah, so you're kind of working the scene a little bit. It looks like the exact same spot, actually.
Yeah, same spot.
So tons of traffic. So this one's quite interesting. We have street performer, and I found that it can be a little difficult to shoot street performers because everybody photographs street performers. It's kind of like the Golden Gate Bridge, right? It's like taking a photo of it that's interesting and new can be a bit difficult. But I think you did a good job here, and I think you paired the sign with the performer well. It's almost like a big arrow pointing towards the person. So I think that worked out well. I always love these walking signs too, because you have people walking, and it's easy to pair somebody walking with the walking sign, right? You get that repetition. Yeah. So let's see, Morgan. I own a Nikon D750, and I am considering the Sony A7 III. Would you recommend it? I do a variety of photography. I'm actually recording myself with the Sony A7 III right now. So I have an A7 III and an A7S III. Did you said you are currently shooting Sony, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
I have the A7R III.
Okay. Great. Is there any reason why you chose the R series
Over
or
the
sub series?
yeah, I usually, when I switched over from Nikon, I only had the 50 millimeter. So I guess sometimes if I needed a crop for a more, personal point of view, I had the extra pixels. It's actually, it kills your memory card and your space in your, computer and iPad. But I feel like at the end of the day, if you want those extra pixels to play around with composition or like just like cropping overall, it's definitely comes in handy. But it's not something you really need if you have a bunch of different lenses. I feel like, even a 16 megapixel camera will do the job if you're keeping your stuff on Instagram.
Yeah, it's all about goals and use case.
Yeah.
I think. So I shoot. So the A7 III, what I would say is that it's a Swiss Army knife of cameras. You can do whatever you want with it. It's fantastic. And especially if you want to shoot video as well, I still think I'd say Sony and Canon are kind of leading the pack there. You do have Panasonic, a lot of people are doing video, but when it comes to just shooting photos, I mean, I think all these different cameras are very much on par with each other. All the mirrorless ones are very much on par with each other. One thing you get with the A7 III, and I think the D750 probably has a full frame sensor. You probably know that, right?
That's a full frame sensor.
Full frame. Okay. So if you're switching over, I'm not seeing a tremendous amount of upgrade to switching from that one over to the A7 III, but don't take my word for it. I don't spend too much time, keeping my eye on all the gear. But I would say with the A7 III, if you want to, if you're able to, totally go for it. Switch, and it's just a good workhorse of a camera. I don't have anything really bad to say about it. Okay, let's see here. So Morgan, I do a lot of portrait and street photography. Okay. Oh, that answers that question. Let's see. Okay. Using the Nikon Z5. I used to use the Nikon D5100. Fantastic. Yeah, I shot with one of my first cameras was a Nikon D50.
Ooh.
The screen is like 4x3 and teeny tiny.
Like tiny. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I realized it's 8:00 and I was supposed to start wrapping this up like 10 minutes ago, but I've been enjoying this conversation. But so before I get you out of here, and you know what, I'll stick around for a little bit longer if people are just hanging out and we can talk a little bit more. But anyway, with this photo, this one's kind of fun to me. This is interesting. And so I was curious what happened here.
So that's actually Mexico City. That's around the Dia de los Muertos, which is the Day of the Dead.
Okay.
And this is a street performer.
Oh, wow.
He was just kind of like finishing his, his few songs that he was singing. And then, he grabbed his hat with the money, just put it on and started to almost walk away. And as he was getting on with his night, just snapped the photo. Kind of has that depth. You have the Torre Latinoamericana in the background, which is like the biggest building in Mexico City right now.
Mm-hmm.
And the kid, you can just tell he's like done with the night. He's just like kind of lost, not sure if he's going left or right. Just I guess that's how a lot of people feel after a day of labor, a day of work or whatever. So yeah, just really happy with the shot. How the emotion on the kid, what he kind of gave me the vibe, of that after a long day, kind of just finally go on with your day. So,
I love this because it's it's very close and kind of intimate, and it's one of the only street portraits I've seen from you. And I love the angle. I love how you got down low, and I love how he's holding the guitar. He's got his hand there. So it's got kind of kind of a poetry to it, the way that he's standing and everything. He's got this like really intense look on his face. It's pretty cool. I think it's fun.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I usually don't really shoot like I said, like face to face. But yeah, you know, he's a kid. Pretty short kid. So just kind of, you know, level with him and just ask him if like, I did I ask him? I think I asked him after I took the photo if it was okay that I took that photo, because he kind of like looked at me for like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and he said, yeah, that's okay, you know, just, and he kept walking and called it a night.
That's great. All right, cool. Well, this has been wonderful. I've really enjoyed this. And as always, as I've done a couple of these now, there's, you know, endless amounts of photos that we could talk about more, but we'll stop here for the sake of time. And thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And thank you for, you know, I always like to thank people for being able to go through the process of arranging these things. Because sometimes there could be ours was pretty straightforward. You were just like, I message you, you're like, I'm down, and then we went. But a lot of times there'll be like a back and forth for weeks trying to set up one of these things. And so I just really appreciate how easy it was.
No worries. You're great. You know, you message me, you know, you will lay down the, you know, the ground for this podcast interview live stream. And, you know, sounded interesting, and it's really important that you know, what you do, you know, to talk about deeper into what people just see on the Instagram or like any other platform, you know. And like you really are making a good I guess advance on how people can see, you know, this other artist, photographer. So thank you for, you know, your time, and you know what you're doing is an amazing project, and best of luck.
All right. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Likewise. All right. We're actually going to wrap this up, guys. Thank you so much for everybody and your questions and such. This will be, you can watch it back, and please feel free to check out his Instagram down below. And if you enjoyed what you saw and experienced here today, please feel free to hit the subscribe and the like button. That will be very helpful and much appreciated. I appreciate you guys. Have a good one. Goodbye.